During the Vietnam War, the Viet Cong and North Vietnamese army employed a chilling array of booby traps meticulously designed to inflict unimaginable harm on intruders. These deadly contraptions, like the Punji Stake Pit and Bamboo Whip, claimed the lives of brave soldiers and left lasting emotional scars. The traps exemplified Sun Tzu's strategy of subduing the enemy without direct combat, instilling paralyzing fear and uncertainty among troops. Join us on a harrowing expedition through the perilous battlefields of Vietnam, delving into the sinister realm of booby traps that haunted courageous soldiers. Let's start with number 1. Chapter 1: Bamboo's Darker Side. The Vietnam War witnessed the ominous use of punji sticks by the Viet Cong, showcasing how simple materials like bamboo could be transformed into deadly weapons. These traps consisted of sharpened bamboo stakes hidden in the ground, intended to inflict severe injuries and instill fear in enemy troops. The resourcefulness and cunning of the Viet Cong fighters were evident in these traps, strategically placed along jungle trails, riverbanks, and even the entrances of the underground Cu Chi tunnels. To enhance their effectiveness, the Viet Cong coated the tips with venomous substances or waste, making even minor wounds potentially lethal. While the use of punji sticks dates back to the First Indochina War, it was during the Vietnam War that they gained infamy due to refinements in design and deployment. Stories like that of Frank Harbert, a US Marine who fell victim to a punji stick trap, demonstrate the excruciating pain and the significant impact these traps had on soldiers. Besides physical harm, the psychological impact cannot be understated. The constant threat of stumbling upon these hidden hazards created anxiety and distraction among troops, undermining their morale and making them more prone to errors. In response, US and South Vietnamese forces developed reinforced footwear, sent scouts to detect traps, and learned to identify potential trap locations. However, the Viet Cong adapted by constructing more sophisticated punji stick traps, some equipped with spring-loaded mechanisms, causing even more devastating injuries. Chapter 2: Booby Traps and Landmines in the Vietnam War. The Vietnam War revealed the Viet Cong's mastery of psychological warfare through their use of booby traps and landmines, preying on the fears and vulnerabilities of US and South Vietnamese forces. These deadly devices, ranging from modified grenades to sophisticated mines like the infamous Bouncing Betty, caused physical harm, demoralized the enemy, and disrupted operations. Obtained from various sources, including captured stockpiles and secret shipments, these traps showcased ingenuity in their design and materials. Some traps, like toe poppers and tripwire mines, aimed to maim rather than kill, while others disguised themselves as ordinary objects to blend into the surroundings. One insidious trap, the grenade in a can, used a simple mechanism with a rubber band to release the grenade's pin when triggered. Booby traps and landmines took a heavy toll on casualties and morale, instilling fear and unease among soldiers. In response, US and South Vietnamese forces developed countermeasures, employing minesweepers, specialized equipment, and training to detect and avoid these hidden dangers. Extensive aerial reconnaissance missions were also conducted to identify enemy minefields and plan movements accordingly. Chapter 3: Net and Falling Traps of the Viet Cong. The Viet Cong's use of nets and falling traps showcased their resourcefulness and cunning in incapacitating and demoralizing US and South Vietnamese forces. These traps served as physical and psychological weapons, instilling fear of entrapment or falling into hidden pits among soldiers. Net traps, also known as man-catchers, ensnared enemy troops by deploying a large camouflage net with stakes. When triggered, the net tightened, rendering the soldier helpless. On the other hand, falling traps caused troops to fall into concealed pits with sharpened stakes or other hazards. One notorious example was the Tiger Trap, a deep pit lined with poisoned bamboo stakes. These traps inflicted gruesome injuries and instilled terror. Stories of soldiers caught in these traps highlighted the ever-present danger. Countermeasures against these traps included vigilant scouting and detection methods. Chapter 4: Venomous Tactics, Viet Cong's Sabotage. During the Vietnam War, the Viet Cong displayed their mastery of psychological warfare by using poisonous creatures and sabotage. They harnessed the deadliest elements of nature to undermine enemy morale and instill fear. Venomous snakes and scorpions were integrated into their lethal arsenal, concealed in hidden compartments, traps, and even soldiers' sleeping areas, causing potential incapacitation or death. Soldiers waking up to venomous snakes in their bags created a terrifying and deadly awakening, intensifying the anxiety of navigating Vietnam's dense jungles. In one instance, US Marine Corporal John Harker was bitten by a deadly snake while on patrol in Quang Tri Province in 1967. Prompt action from his comrades saved his life, but the encounter left him with a lasting fear of snakes, a testament to the resourcefulness of the Viet Cong. The Viet Cong extended their methods of venomous warfare to poisoning food and water supplies, aiming to inflict sickness and death upon enemy forces. US and South Vietnamese troops discovered poisoned rice caches, leading to severe gastrointestinal distress. The Viet Cong also employed poisoning threats within their ranks, using them as a deterrent against desertion or collaboration. These chilling tactics exemplify the lengths of the Viet Cong to maintain control and instigate fear, perpetuating an atmosphere of constant vigilance and distrust. Chapter 5: The Silent Menace – Wiretraps of the Viet Cong. The Viet Cong's use of wiretraps during the Vietnam War was a terrifying and effective tactic. They took advantage of the dense jungle terrain, transforming it into a house of horrors with snap and slide traps. Snap traps, also known as whip traps, cause sudden and severe injuries. A wire attached to a bent tree or bamboo stalk under tension would snap back when triggered, driving a sharp object into the victim with devastating force. Private James O'Neill experienced firsthand the pain of a snap trap when a metal hook was embedded in his calf, showcasing the fear these traps instilled in enemy troops. Slide traps exploited the terrain to make victims lose their footing and fall into prepared pits or onto sharpened stakes. Camouflaged with leaves and branches, these traps were strategically placed along well-used trails. When triggered, victims would slide down the trap, suffering severe injuries or death. Lieutenant Tran Quoc Hung witnessed the tragic consequences of a slide trap when one of his men fell into a pit filled with sharpened bamboo stakes. Despite their best efforts, they couldn't save him, leaving a haunting memory for Tran and highlighting the Viet Cong's cunning and lethal methods. The silent menace of wiretraps had a lasting impact on the battlefield, spreading terror and inflicting casualties on unsuspecting enemies. Chapter 6: Trapping the Trappers – Disabling Viet Cong. In the face of the deadly traps set by the Viet Cong, the US and South Vietnamese forces recognized the urgent need to develop countermeasures to safeguard their troops and minimize these hidden dangers' physical and psychological impact. Through innovation and adaptation, they devised various methods and tools to disable and prevent Viet Cong traps, ultimately turning the tide of the conflict and saving numerous lives. Captain Ernest Ernie Brace, a US Army engineer, played a pivotal role in developing countermeasures against Viet Cong traps. After witnessing the devastating effects of these traps on American soldiers, Brace committed himself to finding ways to counteract these insidious devices. He studied captured traps and collaborated closely with local allies to gain a comprehensive understanding of the Viet Cong's tactics. Brace and his team formulated guidelines and techniques for detecting and disarming Viet Cong traps. With this knowledge, soldiers were trained to recognize signs of tampered vegetation, disturbed soil, and tripwires. They were taught to approach suspicious areas cautiously and communicate vital information to ensure vigilance and shared awareness. In addition to training, specialized tools were developed to disarm and neutralize Viet Cong traps. The trap probe, a long metal rod with a curved tip, allowed soldiers to probe the ground for hidden traps without triggering them. Canine units, consisting of highly trained dogs like German Shepherds or Labrador Retrievers, provided invaluable insights in detecting the scent of human presence and disturbed earth, alerting handlers to potential traps. Efforts to counteract Viet Cong traps extended beyond the battlefield. Engineers and researchers in the US worked tirelessly to develop new technologies and protective gear, such as lightweight body armor, puncture-resistant boots, and specialized helmets. These innovations resulted from relentless dedication to enhancing the protection of frontline soldiers. The tireless pursuit of better protection from traps showcased ingenious subterfuge, with a collective commitment to ensuring the safety of troops and minimizing the devastating impact of Viet Cong traps. Which traps do you find the most brutal, and why? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon. Thank you for watching. We hope you found this content informative and engaging. Stay tuned until the next video.